Welcome to the Sunday worship service of the First Church in Boston, a Unitarian Universalist congregation in Back Bay. Today's guest minister is the Reverend Jo Murphy. Her sermon is entitled Moving from Grief to Justice. The music director is Gigi Mitchell Velasco, alongside the First Church Choir Ensemble.
Good morning, everyone. And welcome, everyone. I'm Rosemary Keene. I'm a co-chair of our social justice community here at First Church in Boston. I'm especially happy to see you all here this morning in person. And we also welcome our participants via YouTube. And I'm especially happy to be here with you in person today after having an extended sojourn out of town. It's lovely to return and to be back here. A special welcome to our visitors. We hope you can join us for coffee hour after the service to enjoy conversation then. You can learn more about First Church Boston or about Unitarian Universalism by talking with any of us during coffee hour, by contacting Reverend Stephanie, or by visiting the website at firstchurchboston.org. And a very special welcome to our guest minister today, Reverend Joe Murphy. Reverend Joe is the executive director of one of our community partners, UU Mass Action. Reverend Joe has also been active with the Boston Immigration Justice Accompaniment Network and with SURGE, Showing Up for Racial Justice. We thank you for leading our service today and for being with us after the service to share information about the amazing work of UU Mass Action. The announcements are in your order of service. In the middle of the order of service, and I'll direct you to that page that has the QR code here. Our GBIO in-district meeting got postponed from last Thursday to next Wednesday, and it will be happening on Wednesday this week at Old South Church. We need at least 50 people to be there to demonstrate how important we see the Homes for All legislation to be. So you can use this QR code and your smartphone to register. That is how we can monitor how we're doing with our turnout. And if you haven't been to a GBIO in-district meeting, I think you'll find it very interesting and rewarding and an opportunity to participate in our democracy, which sometimes we wonder how does it exist these days. So check out that announcement and the other announcements in the order of service. And now, let us begin our service.
Good morning. For the opening words this morning, I would love your participation when I gesture towards you. If you could say, welcome in. Let's practice.
Welcome in.
Lovely. For those who woke up this morning with joy.
Welcome in.
For those who woke up this morning still in need of sleep.
Welcome in.
For those who woke up with trepidation. For those who woke up crying and perhaps in sorrow and in grief. Welcome in all who woke up this morning, for all who bring your different hearts to form our collective one. Welcome in. If you would now join me as you are willing and able in rising to say your chalice lighting. Love.
This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
You may now greet one another. Now, if you would join me in our opening hymn, number 1007, in the Teal hymnal, "There's a River Flowing in My Soul." At UMass Action, we focus on justice, and my sermon today will touch upon how we move from grief to justice. So for our Time for All Ages, to prepare ourselves for all this justice, we are going to do a social justice stretch. So what I'm going to have you all do is first reach down to the grassroots for power. Up to the sky for inspiration. Stomp out injustice and move with the winds of change. So we're going to do it a couple more times. We're going to do it twice, and you can all join me in saying the words if you like, and then the last one we'll do silently. So, reach to the grassroots for power. Up to the sky for inspiration. Stomp out injustice and move with the winds of change. Reach down to the grassroots for power. Up to the sky for inspiration. Stomp out injustice. And a little extra, stomp out injustice. And move with the winds of change. Now in silence. And may it be so. The writer Bell Hooks tells us to be loving is to be open to grief, to be touched by sorrow, even sorrow that is unending. There is a lot of sorrow in our world today, but let us know that we feel this sorrow, this grief, because we are loving. Let us breathe in, knowing that with this sorrow comes love. Let us breathe out, knowing that we don't have to have sorrow without love. Let us breathe in and open our hearts, imagine them growing and growing, letting not only more love in, but more capacity to give and to receive and give love, to receive sorrow. Let us breathe in and receive. Let us breathe out and give. Let us breathe in and receive. Let us breathe out and give. Let us breathe in and receive. Let us breathe out and give. For all the sorrows, all the joys in this congregation, amongst us, in our communities and the world, let them all be said and held in love, and not only love, but the love that is carved out by grief. Let them all be held strongly in this love, in this joy. We share now in a time of quiet, followed by a musical meditation. Our offering this morning will be given from you to UMass Action, the organization I work with, and I like to get it in your brains, to have people sing this little ditty. It goes, UMass Action. Very beautiful. So I'm going to just give a quick, a quick explanation of what we do, and every time I point to you, you will sing, and then you will never forget us. Works to organize and mobilize UUs and to provide pathways for us to live our shared values through justice work. While we continue with our campaigns of climate, environmental justice, indigenous rights, immigrant and economic justice, and ending the torture of solitary in Massachusetts prisons and jail, the Youth Corps is well underway with an intergenerational canvas coming up. We have begun a congregational partnership to deepen our relationship with churches, as well as many new collaborations, including a Justice Church, a time for all of to join together to spiritually ground. Your donations today will go towards supporting our campaigns, our staff, and the justice work we do with our partners, congregations, and our coalitions. We thank you so much for donating generously to Thank you.
morning. Our reading this morning is by Joe Harjo. Perhaps the world ends here. The world begins at a kitchen table. No matter what, we must eat to live. The gifts of earth are brought and prepared, set on the table. So it has been since creation, and it will go on. We chase chickens or dogs away from it. Babies teethe at the corners. They scrape their knees under it. It is here that children are given instructions on what it means to be human. We make men at it, we make women. At this table we gossip, recall enemies, and the ghosts of lovers. Our dreams drink coffee with us as they put their arms around our children. They laugh with us at our poor, falling down selves, and as we put ourselves back together once again at the table. This table has been a house in the rain, an umbrella in the sun. Wars have begun and ended at this table. It is a place to hide in the shadow of terror, a place to celebrate the terrible victory. We have given birth on this table and have prepared our parents for burial here. At this table, we sing with joy, with sorrow. We pray of suffering and remorse. We give thanks. Perhaps the world will end at the kitchen table while we are laughing and crying, eating of the last sweet bite.
In remote forests in Madagascar, there is an orchid that is somewhat star-shaped. A delicate branching of white petals called the star of the forest. She may look delicate and her name may come from her shape, but she is also the star of the forest because she grows in complete darkness. This isn't just a survival technique for her, she thrives in darkness. The orchid gets nutrients from underground fungus, does not have chlorophyll for photosynthesis, but cuts through the forest dirt every so often to attract pollinators such as ants. I loved reading about this orchid. I love knowing that there is thriving in darkness. The orchid is a reminder for me about the ability for life to survive and thrive in unexpected places. In dark forest floors that, though they may be threatened by the destruction of our earth, at least for now, host orchids. Beautiful, delicate pieces of joy, thriving orchids that live happily and healthily in the dark. We are all in need of the possibility that exists within thriving orchids. In my work as the leader of UU Mass Action, working alongside organizers on legislation, advocacy, and change in the areas of climate, indigenous justice, decarceration, immigrant and economic justice, I feel the need very much for this possibility. In these movement spaces, doing this work, I find myself standing in an awkward space of not being very hopeful, but having hope for the possibility of hope. I know that people have the capacity to do better, even when I've seen again and again that we do not always act on this capacity. When thinking about what blocks my ability to move from having hope and hope to just hope, I think about my ability to grieve. I believe that if we take time and space to grieve and be in grieving, we will have a greater capacity for joy, for delight, and we need this joy, this delight to continue on in these movement spaces, to continue to remember why we fight. Last summer, Joni Mitchell, who is now 79, or maybe 80 now, made a surprise guest appearance at the Newport Jazz Festival. She sang Both Sides Now with Brandi Carlile. This is a haunting, definitely sad-sounding song, and when I watched the video, I did not weep, I sobbed. I'm sure many of you have experienced songs, art, moments that feel that they are breaking you open. I think this song for me, both in its melody and lyrics, about knowing life and actually realizing that you don't at all, and that's okay, was what broke me in this moment. Now, when we're talking about art and music and how it breaks you open, I think it's best not just to talk about it, but to do it. I'm wondering if people know the song, Both Sides Now? All right, so we're gonna sing a little bit, and then I'll cut everyone off, but please join me as you're able. Rows and flows of angel hair, and ice cream castles in the air, and feather canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, but now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and down, and still somehow it's love's illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. Moons and Junes and Ferris wheel, the dizzy dancing way you feel as every fairy tale comes real. I've looked at love that way. Part of me was sobbing in this moment was due to beauty, part loving Joni Mitchell and seeing her singing, and part of it was I just needed to cry. I was reminded of the writer and activist Adrienne Maree Brown quote, "Remember, you are water, of course you leave salt trails, of course you are crying." In a sermon about despair written in 2019, the Reverend Victoria Safford responds to the despair and grief people were feeling at the time. She says, "Time is not an arrow shot from the bow at the beginning and propelling history inevitably in one doomed direction. There are no straight lines in this round world, no guarantees. Seasons change and movements grow. Hearts beat on and all things like water ebb and flow. Despair can give way to resistance if you voice it in community. Grief can become resilience if you honor the weight of it and let others help you bear it. Cynicism can be melted, grim certainty unrested, apathy can wake up. If the music's loud enough and strong enough. In this time of our history when violence rages on, wars begin and continue, our climate feels on the edge, if not already in the midst of disaster. There is reason for despair. There is reason for despair, for grief, cynicism, for apathy. It is one thing to talk about melting cynicism, having despair give way to resistance. But how does all of this come about? How are we not consumed by despair? How do we carve room and make room for hope, joy, and delight, those things that make our world, our survival, worthwhile and beautiful? My recipe is threefold. First, don't forget your people. Gather them, cook for them, care for them, love them in all the ways. And in moments when you cannot gather them, be gathered. Let your people gather you, cook for you, love you. Gather people around the kitchen table where Joy Harjo, the author of the poem this morning, tells us life begins and ends. Gather your people, be gathered, and then let yourself cry, let yourself grieve. After being gathered, after grieving, we remind ourselves why we survive. This is the third part where we dance. We eat the food we have cooked, we sing, we remember that our survival is beautiful. Do not forget your people, let yourself cry and grieve, and remember why we all want to survive. Often before I board a plane, I text many people. I then turn my phone off, turn it on airplane mode, and when I land, I turn my phone back on, and it starts stinging as it fills up with so many texts, so many messages from people I love. Do things such as this. Remind people that you love them. Open yourself to being reminded of all of those that love you. Be with people and remember that life wants life. Next, we go to despair and let our bodies, our hearts grieve. Once the people have been gathered, fed, and loved, let the grief be felt, let the tears fall. Adrienne Maree Brown again tells us that remember you are water, of course you leave salt trails, of course you are crying. Tears that are not pain themselves, but a release of the pain. A sign of the pain, a physical representation of grief. As a leader, minister, part of accepting grief is necessary to staying in the work, to staying connected to the world. Accepting grief is part of avoiding despair. Not only do we need to grieve, we are grieving actively in the midst of so many losses and circumstances that persist, that continue. We are tired of making so many decisions that are not flippant decisions, but that relate to our survival and the survival of others. We are tired of living through uprisings and seeing racism viciously persist. We are tired of violence building rather than diminishing. We are tired of war, of hatred being acted upon by violence, by occupation. We are tired of violence at our borders, at detention centers and prisons. We are tired of fighting for an earth that some seem to care about and others don't. We are tired. Of course we are crying. And as we gather and as we cry, let us remember that despair may be paralyzing, but grief doesn't have to be. In an article about eco-anxiety entitled, "How Can I Stay Hopeful as the World Burns?" Aisha Mirza interviews Robin Wall Kimmerer, author of the book, Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teaching of Plants. Mirza asks Kimmerer how she stays hopeful, and she says, "The grief is heartbreaking, but what I try to do is feel that deeply. Grief can paralyze us. It can bring us to despair and hopelessness. But when we recognize that the pain we are feeling is ecological compassion, it's love for a world that is strong and fierce and gives us the strength to say, not on my watch." The other day, I walked out of a church after giving a similar sermon about grief. I have a daughter who is 10 months old, and she was at the nursery at the time of my sermon. After finishing, I shook a few hands on the way out, and I went to get my daughter. I brought her back to coffee hour, and I came back to that chattering coffee-laden air holding my daughter, Simone. Someone approached me and said, "You must be much more hopeful than you let on. You brought this beautiful baby into the world." And I am. I am much more hopeful than I let on. Am I scared, grief-stricken, and angry too? Yes. But again, life wants life, and I have so much hope for this broken world. I brought life into the world because I believe that there is a great life for Simone to live. And so I gather my people. I let myself be gathered. I come home to a house where 2 babies live. We cook meals for each other, we sing, we say grace, we pass the babies around. We tend to the 8-year-old and pet and give in to the very anxious dog. We sweep our floors, bake bread, and lend each other our cars. We make themed cocktails, bake cakes, and celebrate the life that is here, the life that is us. We gather, we cry, and we celebrate our survival. It is no joke to feel grief deeply, especially when there's so much to grieve. But I think it helps when we know that in part to grieve is to love. The last part of my recipe is to act on this love, to remember why we move, why we work to protect this world. For this part of the recipe, do what you love. Experience joy and delight, dance, sing, go see art, go to the ocean, do all those things at the same time. Listen to something that makes you laugh, make someone else laugh. Remind yourself of why you love your life. We are excellent at loving. Let that not go to waste. Our perhaps broken hearts certainly have a lot of territory to cover, but I have hope and knowledge that they can indeed cover it. I think it's going to take work, but not more than we can handle. We do not do it alone, and we do not do it in despair. To want to survive in of itself is a beautiful thing. To want to survive in a broken world already on flames is even more beautiful, and perhaps it is at its core hope. Gather your people, let your tears flow, make music that is strong enough, that is loud enough. In a recent conversation with an organizer, we talked about the fear we encounter when trying to organize. The fear of everything going up or already being in flames. The fear that it is already too late. We talked about how to move from this fear, leaving this place of fear so we can actually move. We talked about what it meant to move from this fear, recognizing that part of this move is seeing the new beginnings, the hope and possibilities that when systems, that what we saw as normal changes, when it breaks down, when it ends, there's possibility, hope for new systems and new potential. Whether or not we're able to build new and better systems remains an unknown. But that possibility, the possibility that as our world shifts, there could be better systems, better ways of being, something I think needs to be felt more. But first, we have to grieve. We have to grieve and accept our tears, tears that are a part of us, an expression of our love for life. Let us leave salt trails of tears and not despair. Let us nurture our longing to survive. Let us remember why we fight, and let us remember this by creating and finding joy, by loving the people who have gathered us. Let us cry and grieve, remembering that our pain is love, and we've always had more than enough of that. Of course you are crying. Of course we are crying. Let us let the tears flow as reminders of how deeply we are in love with the world. Let us survive because of our joy, because of our people, because you, we have always been good at loving. If you would now join me as you're willing and able in singing our closing hymn, 354, We Laugh, We Cry.
We dance, we sing our song.
benediction, I'd love to do a blessing of the hands, if you feel comfortable to put your hands up. Blessings on all of these hands, apart in physical space, but together in work, together in spirit. Blessings on these hands that are called to the labors of love. Bless the hands that bring comfort, care, that bring hope, that bring us together to gather. Bless the hands that organize, pray, cook, help with programming. The hands that clean, sew, paint. Bless the hands that dance. Bless the hands that together do the work that needs to be done. May these hands receive as well as give. May they continue to unite with other hands. And may we all be held in the blessing that is hands coming together. Amen, and blessed be.
Please feel free to join us live each Sunday at 66 Marlborough Street at the corner of Berkeley Street in Back Bay. If you would like more information about programs, services, or membership at First Church, please visit the website www.firstchurchboston.org or send an email to office@firstchurchboston.org.